Hello, good morning everyone. So this is the biological classification, first PUC chapter 2. So we know that we are having so many living organisms in this earth. So how the classification of these living organisms is done? Because we know almost all of the organisms are having their special characteristics. All organisms, they have their morphological characteristics, they have unique cell structure, they have their unique mode of nutrition. So how the classification of these all different kinds of organisms is done, we have to study that. So first thing is introduction. How the classification of this living organisms is done. Earlier Aristotle, he is the father of biology, but he was the first scientist who attempted for the classification of this living organisms. He used only the external features. Normally the external features of the living organisms is known as a morphological characteristics. So only the morphological characteristics used for the classification of organisms. So he divided plants into the herbs, shrubs and trees, and he divided animals into the red blood animals and non-red blood animals. In Linnaeus time, there were only two kingdom classification. One is Plantae and another one is Animalia. But this system was unable to differentiate between the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. We know that prokaryotes are the organisms which have a primitive nucleus. Primitive nucleus in the sense they have a genetic material but that is present in the cytoplasm. The nuclear membrane is absent in these organisms. Only two examples we have. Those are the blue-green algae and bacteria. And next, eukaryotes. Eukaryotes, these are the organisms having a true nucleus. True nucleus in the sense they have a genetic material that is present inside the nucleus, and the nucleus is having a defined nuclear membrane. So next, photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organisms. Photosynthetic example algae and non-photosynthetic is fungi. Next, characteristics for classifying organisms. Only morphological characteristics are not used for the classification of the living organisms. Some of the other characteristics are also important while classifying. So besides morphology, they used cell structure, how the cell is present in these organisms, nature of cell wall, mode of nutrition, are they having a autotrophic mode of nutrition or heterotrophic mode of nutrition, habitat, where they live, methods of reproduction, evolutionary relationships. These are the characteristics used for classifying living organisms. So next we have a five kingdom classification. Five kingdom classification is given by R.H. Whitaker in the year 1969. He was the scientist who used these all characteristics for the classification of living organisms. So he did five kingdom classification on the basis of cell type, nucleus, body organization, mode of nutrition. So next, first kingdom is Monera. Next is Protista, fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So five kingdoms. In that first one is the Monera. And the cell type, first characteristic we are seeing here is the cell type. Cell type, it is unicellular. Almost all the Monera are having a unicellular. So unicellular means these are the single celled organisms. And prokaryotic. Prokaryotic means they don't have a well defined nucleus. Genetic material is present, but that is present in the cytoplasm. The nuclear membrane is absent. Next, Protista. Protista are unicellular organisms but they are eukaryotic. Unicellular organisms but eukaryotic organisms. Fungi. Next, third kingdom is fungi. These all are multicellular organisms. Multicellular, non-green and eukaryotic because they are not having a chlorophyll. Plantae, multicellular organisms and eukaryotic. Animalia, multicellular and eukaryotic. So these eukaryotic organisms are having the well-defined nucleus. So next characteristic is nucleus. So in the Monera, we have to say that nucleus is absent. Nucleus is absent in the sense the nucleus is not having a nuclear membrane. So that is the reason here the monerans are not having a nucleus. In Protista, nucleus is present. Fungi, nucleus is present. Plantae, nucleus is present. And in Animalia, nucleus is present. So next, body organization. How the body is organized in these all organisms. Cellular level of organization. First, we need to say that cell, and the group of cells are forming a tissue. Group of tissues are forming a organ, and the group of organs are forming a organ system. Then only the individual can be formed. So the monerans are having a cellular level of organization. Protista are also having a cellular level of organization because Protista and Monera are unicellular organisms. So for that purpose, they have a cellular level of organization only. So fungi are multicellular organization but with a loose tissue. Completely tissues are not formed in the fungi but they are having a loose tissue. So here in the Plantae, tissue level and organ level organization is there, and in Animalia, tissue, organ and organ system level of body organization. Next, mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition, autotrophic or heterotrophic. Here Protista are also autotrophic or heterotrophic. Fungi usually they are saprophytic, parasitic and sometimes they are symbiotic. Saprophytic in the sense they are having a they are feeding on the dead and decaying matter. Dead and decaying matter is consumed by this fungi. For this purpose we say this is the saprophytic mode of nutrition. Some are parasitic and some are symbiotic. Example we can give lichens. So next, Plantae. Plants are completely autotrophic. They have a chlorophyll. They can prepare their own food with the help of chlorophyll, and this process is known as a photosynthesis. And Animalia, they have a heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So examples we have here: Monera, bacteria and blue-green algae. And here Protista, Spirogyra and Chlamydomonas. Fungi, Rhizopus and Agaricus. Plantae, herbs, shrubs and trees. In the Animalia, fish, frog, crocodile, birds and human beings. These are the examples for this 5 kingdom classification.